Daily stock market update, 16th of April, just before US market open. The oil futures are slightly high, but most importantly, they're below 100 US dollars. So we're okay with the stock market. The S&P futures are up 0.1%. They're at least in positive territory. And we're looking at the S&P at all-time highs. Europe 600 stocks index is also up. Everything's up. Taiwan Stock Exchange, I'll come to that in a second, is up 1.1%. And the Nikkei was up 2.4% as well. So what are the 5 most important things you need to be aware of? Global equities climbed to all-time highs. So those who patiently waited and didn't panic on all the breathless headlines did the best. The idea is US and Iran may extend the ceasefire. Of course they will. And they'll wind down things and there'll just be some kind of messy settlement. But most importantly for the stock market, it'll become background noise that we can ignore, a bit like Ukraine. China's economic growth has rebounded. That helped the markets as well, and it rebounded more than expected. Remember, since about the 1960s, 70s, economists have realized that expectations are a more realistic model for what drives economics and prices than what they conventionally thought were simple supply and demand curves. So if you can exceed expectations, prices will tend to reflect that, and so will sentiment or animal spirits. These expectations have been beaten, and now we're moving into US corporate earnings season. Look out for expectations being beaten over there. The reason I say that is because those expectations have been battered by the Middle East conflict and have been driven lower. You need expectations to be driven lower, a low hurdle, so that you can beat them and prices move up. If our expectations are too high, then markets will fall, even if profits are spectacular, at least fall in the short term. ECB, European Central Bank policymakers, are leaning towards keeping interest rates unchanged. That's good. At least they're not looking at rising them. The stupidest thing they could do, and economists are known to do stupid things, is to think that prices are going up because of what's happening in the Middle East, so they should raise interest rates. That's a supply side shock, and they really shouldn't be applying interest rates, which is a demand-side policy instrument where there's excess demand, to a supply-side shock. If anything, they should be doing the reverse. There is a group of economists who would say, do austerity when there's a recession. Okay, you don't want to be one of those. They're sort of 150 years behind the literature. EasyJet shares fell the most since 2022 because it's going to have a loss in the first half because of disruptions from the Middle East conflict. Now, remember, Warren Buffett's always said, if you buy, or if he ever gets tempted to buy airline stocks, then he has an emergency number he calls until the feeling goes away. Why are airline stocks historically just really bad bet? Unless you can time it perfectly, and everything's a good bet if you can time it perfectly. So you really want things which are easy to time, and airline stocks are not. And the reason is they have a very poor cash return on capital invested. You need to invest a lot of capital in order to get a small cash return. You want companies which traditionally generate a lot of cash. Think of cash cows, license to print money, a money printing tree. You make a capital investment, you want lots of cash coming out of it. Our ancestors, going back thousands of years, who came up with those proverbs, realized it. Modern day economists and investors call it croaky, cash return on capital invested. And you really want companies with high croakies. Airlines tend not to have that. Who does? Guess what? Semiconductor companies do. They make the capital investment in the plant and machinery, generates a lot of cash. Tip of the iceberg is what we're seeing with the IMF and the World Bank. They are suggesting that investors are underestimating the economic damage from the Iran war. Either that or the IMF and World Bank economists are overestimating the economic damage from the Iran war and underestimating the resilience of highly profitable companies to overcome such shocks, which they're used to seeing. Okay, and I suspect that is more accurate. Don't forget, the IMF and the World Bank think not just about the US stock market. If they think about it at all, they're really thinking about everything from what's happening in Central Africa to what might be happening in the major economies. So their warnings, I'm less worried about. They see structural changes involving higher costs, longer trade routes, and rising geopolitical uncertainty that will limit growth potential. Well, growth potential is always limited. If it wasn't, we'd be limitlessly doing well. Capitalism limits growth potential because it creates competition and avoids monopolies. That limits growth potential. So they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves. But then again, they're economists, they're not investors. Stocks are rallying to records and bond yields are falling. That is good. Bond yields falling means your mortgages are going to be cheaper. You can have more money in the bank, which is good for the stock market because you'll spend more of it. Hopefully, it means companies will be spending less in interest rate payments on their borrowings. And they'll be spending more on investment, which will make them productive and more competitive in the future. So that's good for the longer term. As I said, the MSCI All Country World Index, it hit a bottom of about 950. It's now at 1050. So not actually that big a difference here or there. But for such a broad index, that's quite a rise up, and that's positive. I'll be buying more Microsoft stock because I couldn't think of something else to do. A little bit early, so I'll be edging into it. Now, what's happening with the broader markets? Well, they're obviously ignoring the World Bank and the IMF. They always do, which is really bad for the IMF and the World Bank. But then again, institutional trust has diminished. You only have to look at the trust in the White House or trust in the United Nations. So, as Ed Yardeni put it, history shows that geopolitical crises turn out to be great buying opportunities, buying the dip. And he's not the only one. I'm not the only one. A lot of people will be now going into these. What's on the move? Nuclear and uranium shares are rallying in pre-market trading after the White House took a step towards establishing nuclear power in space. If you're going to do it, it's probably a safe place to put it, on the back of a bunch of extremely volatile rockets and then shove it outside the spaceship we called Earth. Oklo is up 7%, NuScale Power up 8.8%, and Cameco up 2.4%. That's near-term news. Longer term, I think nuclear power is here to stay, but I've not looked at those companies on the basis of our value growth income aspects. Flutter Entertainment fell 2%. Somebody wrote a sell note. Him and Hers, which sells peptides, gained 11%, extending yesterday's 14% rally. Why? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the US, is seeking to loosen restrictions on sales of some peptides. Now, there's speculation, if ever you saw it. Don't go into speculation. Quantum computing stocks are gaining for a third straight session after NVIDIA unveiled a suite of AI models aimed at accelerating progress in quantum computing. That's the biggest story for the future as well. AI will lead to quantum computing, which will lead to this, obviously all AI generated, doing incredibly well. I know it looks incredibly lifelike, doesn't it? Even sounds like me with human nuances. Inflection up 4.2%. D-Wave Quantum is up 6.1%. I've done a separate report for my clients on quantum computing and quantum computing stocks. They're going to have 20 securities. Of those, they might only have one or two which overlap quantum and AI. So it's really making sure we don't make any dumb mistakes in those. If you're interested in being a client, alpeshpatel.com/links. PPG Industries rose 2.3% after the paint company's earnings beat estimates. See, beat estimates. That's what's important. Earnings season is well underway in the US. Remember, they report 4 times a year, unlike Britain, which keeps you in the dark, except for just twice a year. So, earnings, PepsiCo, Bank of America, New York Mellon, Abbott Laboratories, Travelers, US Bancorp, Charles Schwab, Netflix, and Alcoa after the close. What's important out of all of those? Really, Bank of New York to some extent, and Netflix. The others, nice to see, more single stock specific. Now, here's the Taiwan thing I mentioned in AI. Taiwan stock market is valued at $4 trillion. That means it's now the world's 7th largest, surpassing that of the United Kingdom. Of course, Taiwan's economy is less than $1 trillion, and the UK's economy is $4 trillion, albeit smaller than, say, India's. But the Asian nation, Taiwan, its AI-related exports are soaring, and like Taiwan Semiconductor, a company which I happen to own. So it's been one of the things which have fueled it. It expects revenue growth of more than 30% this year, and it's valued at 1.7 trillion. The value of Taiwan Semiconductor is roughly a third of the GDP of the United Kingdom. I know I'm not comparing apples and pears, but you just need one or two of these models. to raise the value of your stock market, which tells us something else. The UK is launching a sovereign AI fund. It just needs to get one Taiwan semiconductor, and it could add $1 trillion to the UK economy. That's what we're looking for. Like I said, if you're thinking about becoming a client, you want a free educational pension portfolio review or learn more about investing, alpeshpatel.com/links. If you like these daily broadcasts, please make sure you share them and save them and follow and like and do all of those things, because it boosts the algorithm and it sends it to more people. If more people don't see it, I don't do them. So please do like, share, follow, and all of those things. Thank you.